A pirate. Parrot on the shoulder, a bottle of rum in hand, Arrr on the lips, and a buried treasure map? Okay, now I'm gently sliding all of that off the table, because real piracy wasn't the fairy tale Hollywood sold us. Real piracy was colder, more organized, and way more economic. In fact, most pirates weren't swimming in gold like you imagine. Some hit the jackpot on a single voyage, sure, but most were just trying to survive inside something we'd call a high-risk venture today, operating on the ocean in a lawless market. And I'm not going to tell this as a villain story, because piracy wasn't just a personality trait. It was a byproduct of the system. When trade grows, piracy grows. When states go to war, piracy explodes. When sea routes carry money, money attracts people. So this video isn't only who were the pirates, it's why did they appear and how did they actually work? Buckle up, because piracy is much more modern than you think. It's almost like a startup. There's investment, a team, risk, profit sharing, and on some ships, rules that functioned like a primitive form of insurance. Yes, on pirate ships. I'm not kidding. 1. Did pirates find piles of gold? Let's start with the biggest myth. Pirates were always finding gold. Not really. The most common pirate target wasn't chest after chest of coins, it was cargo. Sugar, tobacco, cocoa, cloth, spices, rum, and sometimes materials tied to the slave economy, because the real money was in goods. Catching a ship loaded with gold or silver was like winning the lottery, but it wasn't an everyday thing. And even if you did capture precious metals, spending them was another problem. Big money appearing out of nowhere raises questions. Where did you get that? So piracy isn't just about stealing, it's also about laundering value. That's why pirates didn't only need swords. They needed ports, connections, and merchants willing to look the other way. 2. The treasure map myth. Why it was rare. Now, the buried treasure thing, yes, there are stories of pirates hiding loot, but it wasn't the core business model. A pirate crew raids, shares, and wants to spend fast, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Also, good luck convincing a crew, guys, let's bury it and come back in 2 years. That's not how desperate, dangerous lives work. Pirate economics moved quickly. Sell the loot now, or the problems on the ship grow. For pirates, the most valuable thing wasn't gold, it was cash flow. Yes, pirates cared about cash flow. 3. Who were pirates really? Spoiler, mostly ordinary people. Movies treat pirates like they were born criminals. In reality, many were former sailors. Some had deserted navies. Some had been exploited on merchant ships. And here's the harsh truth. Maritime labor conditions were brutal. Pay was delayed. Beatings were normalized. Disease was everywhere. For many sailors, piracy was a way out before it was a crime. Think about it. Getting whipped on a merchant ship versus getting a share of the loot on a pirate ship? One of those can start to look rational. So piracy is also a labor market story. Terrible working conditions, plus war, plus unemployment, plus money flowing at sea equals piracy. 4. Pirate ships. Not chaos, management. Here comes the surprising part. Many pirate ships had more order than you'd expect. Some crews voted on decisions. The captain wasn't always an absolute king. On some ships, the captain's power increased in battle, but was limited in daily life. And there was often a quartermaster, someone who handled discipline and loot distribution. And yes, pirates could have rules. Some crews created written or spoken agreements. Who gets what share, what happens if you're injured, what punishment fights bring, and so on. Why? Because piracy is a team sport. If the team collapses, the ship collapses. So pirates built their own mini-company contracts. 5. Loot distribution. The pirate profit model. This is the heart of it. Shares. That's the incentive. Let's say you capture a ship. You take the goods. Now what? You convert it to cash and distribute it. If the split isn't seen as fair, the crew falls apart, or mutiny appears. So distribution is everything. Captains might take more. Specialists might take more too. Surgeons, carpenters, gunners, because a ship is a pool of skills. Without a surgeon, a small wound kills you. Without a carpenter, a storm turns a leak into a grave. In pirate life, a skilled specialist can be worth more than gold. 6. How did pirates actually make money? The dirty part. To turn loot into cash, you need a port, and this is where pirates and merchants meet. Some ports tolerated pirates because cheap goods stimulate the local market. It's a gray zone. Illegal in theory, profitable in practice. Piracy doesn't live only at sea. It lives on land, in harbors, in back rooms. That's why a pirate's strongest weapon wasn't always a cannon. Sometimes it was their network. Which governor takes a bribe? Which merchant buys the cargo cheap and resells it as legitimate? Piracy is an ecosystem. 7. Not Arrr. Strategy. Pirates didn't want to fight. Another myth. Pirates loved bloodbaths. In reality, pirates preferred winning without fighting. Fighting damages ships, kills crew, and creates injuries. The best pirate attack is the one that makes the target ship think, let's not drag this out. That means psychological dominance, intimidation, speed, shock, surrender. That's why pirates favored fast ships, not heavy warships, agile ships that could catch prey and escape patrols. The pirate math is simple. Grab, take, run. 8. States and pirates. Sometimes enemies, sometimes partners. Now for the plot twist. The line between pirate and state wasn't always clear. Sometimes governments gave sailors legal permission to attack enemy shipping. Privateering. You raid enemy ships, you take a cut, and the state smiles. So someone called a criminal one day could be treated like a hero the next. Which tells you something important. Piracy was sometimes less a crime and more a political tool. 9. Why did piracy explode into a golden age? When piracy spikes, 3 things often happen. Major wars end, and unemployed sailors flood the market. Trade grows and more wealth moves at sea, and state enforcement weakens. Combine those 3, and piracy grows like an industry. Then states rebuild fleets, tighten ports, and piracy shrinks. Piracy is basically inversely proportional to state capacity. When the state is weak, piracy rises. When the state is strong, piracy falls. Sounds modern, doesn't it? 10. The final lesson: piracy is a mirror of the system. Let's boil it down to one sentence. Pirates weren't just criminals on the ocean. They were entrepreneurs living in the shadow of trade routes. Some were brutal, some were desperate, but what produced them was the same thing: a money-rich route and an order that couldn't fully protect it. That's the real point. When a system grows, its vulnerabilities grow too, and someone will exploit them. Even today, the ships just look different now. So here's the closing question for you. What do you think truly created piracy? Greed? Terrible working conditions? Weak states? Or the wave of jobless sailors after war? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want, in the next episode, we can break down the biggest pirate myths one by one. Who Blackbeard really was, what pirate flags actually meant, and why pirates drank rum. See you next time!